I am a self-styled ethnoecologist. I've been working on this for decades and enjoying it enormously. I would like to break down a few things for you so you understand what I'm going to talk about. Ethnoecology. Ethno, about culture, about people, ecology, about the habitat. That's a study that came about in about the 50s because a lot of people were tired of anthropologists and archaeologists talking about things as if they were dead and no longer existed. Ethnoecology embraces the past, the present, and what we are creating now for the future. So one of the things that you can keep in mind when you hear that word, if you hear it, is that it's really contemporary. For us, it's contemporary, and actually for the ancient peoples, it's contemporary as well. I'm going to show you some pictures today. I'm going to talk about some things that affect your life, and while we may not be conscious of how we're being affected by our environment, our Native American peoples were very involved with their environment, their place, their sense of place, and the sacredness of place. Let's see if I can, there we go. Animate sacred landscapes. Do we know what those words mean? We know what landscapes are. We think we do. It's a picture on a wall. Is it something that's around us? Is it something we live in? Or is it something we look at? Sacred, we might know what that is. Maybe holy. Holy comes from the word health. And I'm going to talk about health today. Animate means movable or alive. If you like walking through the forest, if you like being outside, if you like being amid nature and natural things, you feel that animate environment. Some people stay indoors all the time. Maybe they play video games. They have a different consciousness. Animate and landscape and sacred are outside their lives. And I'd like to show you some things today. Maybe it will help you understand you inhabit your life, you inhabit an environment, and you inhabit a landscape. You inhabit your body. This is a very old mountain and a very old scene. I'd like you to take a look at it. The red rocks, I believe, are about 4 million years old. That's a long time. They were laying down and they got popped up, depending on what the earth was doing to itself. The mountain behind you is known as Tava to the Ute, and it's known as Pikes Peak to us for the last couple hundred years. But the Ute have been here for at least 12,000, if not 30,000 years. Much longer time to live in an environment and enjoy the environment. A lot of times we think about a forest as a place to be in or to go to. I'm fortunate because I practically live in the forest. I have 11 acres of forest behind my house. On my back deck, I breathe in the forest environment constantly. I didn't realize this until I got very sick. And I thought it was terrible that I was sick for many years. But as it turns out, the forest is what healed me, and I didn't even know it. I'd like you to be aware of how healing that can be on many levels. We live in a culture that is known as an office culture or a technological culture, and forest bathing can help you with that. It can actually heal you from it. Forest bathing is a term that means forest immersion. In Japan, in about 1982, they decided to get more people off the couch and off their seats and into the forest. And they made a huge advertising effort to the country, which became now to the world. They called it forest bathing, Shindin Yoku, and that means basically taking a bath in the forest. What it means to us is immersing yourself in the forest environment. Take a look at these pictures. Can you imagine sitting down like that little girl? She happens to be one of my students. I take kids to the forest, and we sit. It's not an exertion, it's not running through the forest, it's not listening to speakers in your ears, it's slow. And I thought there was something wrong with me because I like going through the forest slowly. I am a slow person. I move slowly, I read slowly, I think really fast. But I think of so many things, it's hard to get one thing to come out of my mouth at once. I thought, well, maybe I'll speed up. Maybe I'll do better at this. And I read about forest bathing, and I realized the goal of forest bathing, which is what I like to do, is to move slowly, sit down, maybe meditate. In fact, forest bathing and gardening are called the new yoga because they do so much healing and so much help. I was doing research in ethnoecology and reading, Marty will understand this and appreciate it, dissertations, which are basically very big stories in very big words that could be easily said, much more easily, much more simply, and short, and to the point. But in order to get one's dissertation, it must be 300 pages, 500 pages, or 20,000 words. And so they elongate the words, and they elongate everything else, and make it quite complicated. The dissertation I was reading is from a fellow named Lee Block, who became a doctor as I read it. He graduated. He put it up online, and I was lucky to read it. And he talked about the Native Americans that he lived with who connect to their family and their life and their world from deep time to the present when they go to sacred places, like, in their case, forests and mounds. And he said it was interesting because instead of going to the mound, like maybe Western people would do, I'm going to that mound, and they'd go straight to that mound, check it out, yep, we're done. It would meander, drove him crazy. We're going to that mound, why are we going over here? Why are we wandering around? And it just didn't feel right to them. And maybe they needed to go to a few places, maybe they need to feel the land, maybe they needed to feel the air, breathe the air, visit the mound or not visit the mound. But the experience and the connectivity and community were the part that they were looking for and wanting to do. There's a longing. If you've been to the forest or to a nature place and loved it, you get a longing in your heart and a longing in your soul to go back. That's nature calling you. That's nature calling you to be healed and to be with her. In the case of the Native Americans, they believed that it was every ancestor they've ever had or ever will have. Like a big room that you enter, and it's all of time in that one room. There is no time. In terms of forest bathing, I will give you a scientific effort, and I just gave you the Native American and my effort. I like to think that I'm braiding the past, the present, and the future together with that effort. I like to think that I'm braiding Western science and Indian science together with my life, because I think they can be brought together. They don't have to be melded, they don't have to be mixed. They can be braided and live together in harmony. In forest bathing, we have benefit from the forest. I'm going to say that because I'm from the beach and I could talk all about the ocean and the benefits of the ocean and ocean air, but we all live here near the forest. When we breathe in, when we walk into the forest, if you take a half an hour to 3 hours, you're going to breathe in the forest air, you're going to breathe in the air of the land. You'll benefit from that in the way the tree benefits, but opposite ways. The trees send out essential oils. They send out pinenes, they send out I forget the name of it, so I'll tell you later. And by the way, please feel free to ask me a question in the middle of this talk, because I'm happy to answer questions, and I'm supposed to answer questions. So, but you breathe in these essential oils, you breathe in this air, and it benefits you. Now the tree is sending out these oils. The trees, every single tree that you see there is sending out healing oils, healing messages in their environment. And they do that because they may understand that there is a pathogen, a microbe, or even a bug that could bother them or their children. The tiny plants that are next to them, those are actually their children that they feed underground. They actually suckle their young in the forest. So they're sending those out as a protective blanket or umbrella, and that keeps those pathogens from entering them. In our case, we breathe in those essential oils, that wonderful air, and it goes in our lungs, into our bloodstream, and all through our body to clean up what might be a mess. to clean up what might be possibly inflammatory, which is a great cause of a lot of problems. So the trees will help us in a lot of ways. The landscape will help us in a lot of ways. We may not relate to that because we haven't been taught from birth, from life, that forest bathing is going to be something that is going to benefit us. I don't think the Indians talk about it, they just know it. I think it's important for us to talk about it because we don't know it. You can see how the large landscapes that we have would impact our daily life. That's a really big mountain, and it's, I think it's 5 million years old. How did they get a buffalo in there? I have no idea, but that is older than we know. And it would affect us if we lived right there. It affected the people who made it, who created it. We don't know how they did it, but we know that they did it. If you don't have a forest in your backyard, I'm going to suggest something else, and that is green space. It was found through research that green space near your home, or if you create it at your home, will lengthen your life by at least 5 years. Remove stressors, help eliminate coronary disease, a litany of things that it will help you do. And here's gardening. Create a garden and you'll benefit from the garden in many, many ways. First of all, people who garden are limber in body and mind. That's huge. You can do a little bit or a lot, but you'll be limber in body and mind. Another thing about playing in the dirt, in the soil, there's a very nice bacteria, Mycobacterium vaccae. It triggers serotonin when you play with it in the soil. And that, my friends, is the bliss hormone. 200,000 years ago, we began doing things like eating and gathering things to eat. And something clicks in the brain when we pick fruit, and it has never stopped. No question, Tim? That is, I understand I have to stop. But that is called the harvest high, and that is something that you can benefit from even when you shop. But I recommend doing it through gardening. Thank you.